Thanks, Aubrey. And I want to start by thanking the sponsors and especially the Lev Foundation and Aubrey for having us here, giving us a chance to talk a little bit about Hevolution in general and in particular a little bit about what we're doing to foster entrepreneurship as well as scientific development in the health span field. Before I begin, for those of you who are here for the last session, I just want to state up front, I am an ovarian optimist, and I'm also a thymus optimist, a liver optimist, and a kidney optimist. I'm an optimist about the work that you've all been doing and that we've all been doing to really understand some of the fundamental biology of aging and how that's changed. And due to that work and the enormous effort put in to really get us to this place, we're at a place right now where we're on the precipice of an era where we can really start to talk about and explore how we can move from looking at only, importantly, only absolute increases in age and longevity to really moving towards looking at increasing healthy lifespan and the proportion of all of our lives that we spend healthy. And that's what we're all about. In fact, Hevolution is about really investing in and understanding and driving a change from thinking about how long we can live to how healthy we can live. To take a step back, for most of human civilization, life was unpredictable and short. Over the past 100 years, thanks to advances in public health, agriculture, and certainly understanding and treating acute diseases, infectious diseases, et cetera, the average human lifespan has increased quite dramatically. That, however, has combined with a global trend to decreasing fertility rates to create a situation relatively recently in history where there are over 1 billion people over the age of 60. That number is going to double soon. And in this century, we will get to a place where 20% of the global population is over 65. That creates enormous challenges and enormous opportunities. This is absolutely a global trend. We think about societies such as Japan and the United States getting older. And in fact, in Japan at this point, there's approximately 100 working age people supporting approximately, 100 retirees. We're used to the concept of a population pyramid where large numbers of so-called working age people are supporting a relatively small number of older folks who aren't working. As that population pyramid becomes a cylinder, there are real implications. And it's not just the societies that we think of. In fact, some of the youngest societies are rapidly aging as well. In fact, in Saudi Arabia, not that long ago, the median age of the country was 18. Today it's around 30, and relatively soon it will be 40. So that's a real fast change in any society. So longevity continues to increase, although the pace of increase in absolute lifespan is certainly flattening out. But even in the last 25 years, leaving aside the peak COVID pandemic years, we've added about 2.5 years of average lifespan to people over the age of 60. However, we have decreased the average health span, the average lifespan in which we live healthfully, by about 6 months. And in fact, that disparity is increasing rapidly. At this point, we're each of us living about a decade of life with chronic disease, and that number is going up, not down. That's that's not just a bad deal, that's a potential societal disaster. The compression of health span, the expansion of years lived with disability is the climate change crisis of human biology, and that's what we're here to talk about. Now, we know that age is the #1 risk factor for the chronic degenerative diseases that we all suffer from and talk about and invest in. And we know that despite incredible investment, whether it be R&D or medical treatment, we're not really getting what we want. In fact, we spend literally hundreds of billions of dollars every year treating Alzheimer's disease, and hundreds of billions of dollars a year treating cardiovascular disease, and hundreds of billions of dollars a year treating diabetes. And yet, for all that investment, we're treating symptoms, and we're not actually adding to healthy lifespan. So new therapies have to increase healthy lifespan, have to address this actual issue, not just treat symptoms. Otherwise, the opportunity won't be realized and the challenges will compound. So what we're doing, what we're all doing, and what we need to do is have a mindset shift from reactively treating chronic degenerative diseases once they've become established, in essence trying to corral the horse after it's left the barn, to a more proactive approach where we have interventions that can actually change the trajectory of disease before it becomes too entrenched, and even potentially prevent chronic diseases. Now, if we can do that, that will be a good deal for individuals, for communities, and for societies, without a doubt. In fact, it's been estimated that if we could add 12 months of healthy human lifespan, we would save $40 trillion a year in healthcare costs and increased productivity, because it's easy to imagine if, as we age, we are free from, for at least a very much longer period of time, free from chronic degenerative debilitating diseases, then we will be able to work longer, be productive longer, participate in the consumer economy longer, and live in productive social communities longer. That's good for individuals, it's good for communities, it's good for society, and it's very good for the global economy. So how do we get there? Well, it's going to take investment, a lot of investment. Investment of money, investment of policy, investment of thinking, and a mindset. So, because of course R&D, new scientific knowledge, that's the fuel that will generate these interventions. We need that. But we certainly also need investment in public health and a mind shift set in what is public health. We certainly need to invest in infrastructure. That's physical infrastructure for us as an aging civilization, but also economic infrastructure, social infrastructure. Technology, science is at the heart. This is not a problem that will be solved by tweaking with retirement schemes or superficial policy or political solutions. This requires fundamental new knowledge and a fundamental ingenuity-driven solution that we're all here working hard to create. And we need to do it globally. We need to think about not just public investment and private investment and philanthropic investment, but also investment of time. So are we doing it? Well, the US National Institute of Health invests about 1% of its budget in fundamental aging research. In the global venture capital community, we invest about 20 times as much on any given year in immuno-oncology alone as we do in, broadly speaking, health span or longevity company formation. And at entrepreneurial companies. Now that's interesting because about 5% of people get cancer in the world, and 100% of us will develop these chronic debilitating diseases. So there's 20 times the problem to solve and 1/20th of the investment today. So clearly that needs to change. And as part of that solution, Hevolution exists. So what are we? Started in around 2021. That would be interesting if we started in 1921, but 2021. We're a first of its kind global nonprofit established to catalyze the field of healthy longevity. Our strategy and vision is intentionally to extend maximum human healthy lifespan for the benefit of all. Each of those words is intentional, and I would point us to extending healthy lifespan, health span, and for the benefit of all. This is a global societal problem. Each of us in our communities, our families, and our countries needs to address this. And as such, interventions that we develop have to be scalable. This cannot, our investment and our collective effort cannot, quote, merely produce a few very expensive solutions for a few wealthy people. That's not fair, but more importantly even, it won't solve the problem. So we are focusing on each of the pieces, if you will, of the ecosystem along the value chain. In order to address a problem of this magnitude, there's no doubt that all of us have to think about integrated investment, integrated cooperation, integrated thinking, and really moving beyond some of the older siloed thinking of there's research, there's translation, there's development, if you will, entrepreneurship, and there's delivery. Those things are all important, but they can't be separate activities. And we at Hevolution have an integrated view of each of those, from literally helping new investigators get established in their careers investigating fundamental aging, through to translating some of those ideas into potential therapeutics, getting those developed, and getting those delivered. So we'll talk about some of the recent work Hevolution's done in a moment, but in general, we're here to fund, and the funding is grants and investments. We've committed so far in the last 2 years, $400 million to this effort, with 160 now grantees around the world. We've made our first biotechnology investments, and that's going to be scaling soon. We're working with the top research institutions, both in aging biology, but also research institutions in biology and medicine in general. And again, that's a global effort. And we'll talk at the end for a moment about using our scale to convene and to really drive the conversation. In terms of recent Hevolution updates, I'm really happy to highlight a few philanthropic activities that we've recently completed. We're investing with Northwestern University in biologic resilience and proteostasis. We've made a significant contribution in senescence with Albert Einstein. We are now a very large funder of fundamental geroscience aging biology research. And we are absolutely paying attention to attracting new scientists to the field, helping them get started, and we're doing this in a global manner. So that's the philanthropic side. On the translation side, I'm really pleased and proud to be able to lead Hevolution's investment practice. So what are we doing? We've put together, headquartered in Riyadh, where our global headquarters are, but with a significant presence now in Boston, one of the leading biotechnology investment and development hubs in the world, and future plans for operational centers in other areas in the world of real importance and real promise. A venture capital program staffed by absolute A-class world leaders with experienced venture capitalists, biotechnology and pharmaceutical operating executives, and financial analysts to come together to build an impact venture capital program. So I'll skip for a moment to what does it mean to be an impact investor. It means we are aligning ourselves with the global biotechnology economic engine. We think the best way to get solutions to people is to engage the entire ecosystem, including the investment and biotech entrepreneurial ecosystem. However, we're not just about making successful companies or even successful drugs. We're about having impact. So we evaluate opportunities equally for the potential to be commercially successful and to have impact on geroscience, health span, and the field in general. We have a multi-year commitment, and sometimes people ask me, well, what's the difference between an impact investor and a regular investor? For us, it means in part that we are setting ourselves up to be able to support companies earlier and longer. We know that this is a nascent field, and companies will take time and more cycles to develop. So we're setting ourselves up to be able to support companies throughout their life cycle. We know that in any nascent field, companies need more than money. They need operational expertise, strategic advice, and we're building our internal team with folks who have been successful venture capitalists, successful pharmaceutical executive, biotechnology leaders, to really focus on helping companies succeed. So we have a long-term commitment. We're initially building a portfolio of about 20 to 25 companies across biologic and therapeutic themes. And while we support early-stage entrepreneurship, what does that mean? It includes all the way at the beginning of translation of scientific ideas into ideas for companies, to company creation, to getting potential therapies into and through the clinic. We also are looking at the potential to repurpose existing drugs and also the potential to repurpose existing development programs and technologies for health span research. Importantly, translation and that sensitive but important period between good science, good opportunity, and potential therapeutic, potential company, that translation is incredibly important. And we're really excited to be using our offices and our convening power to bring together leaders from the pharmaceutical industry, from the venture capital community, and from the research and development community to come together in a very focused effort at company creation, which we call the Breakthrough Innovation Alliance. We'll be scouring the world for high potential and potentially high risk, but high potential projects that could become great companies. We're going to help the founders to explore that and explore the opportunity, do key experiments in a pre-competitive but post-academic industrial setting. And for the ones that have the most promise, we'll start companies around that. That's a very exciting virtual incubator that we're going to be putting in place this year. So with all of those activities, we're really excited to work with all of you to come together and not only overcome one of the greatest challenges facing humanity, but realize one of the greatest opportunities. I hope that we'll see many of you at our signature event, our Global Health Span Summit, which is becoming recognized as the premier convening opportunity for scientists, policymakers, and entrepreneurs from around the world. We'll be doing that in February 2025 in Riyadh, and hope to see many or all of you there. With that, I'll say thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you so much, Bill. That was really excellent. Thank you. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Let me start with the first question.
Sure.
So, as you remember, this session is kind of talking about governmental involvement in things. And of course, the reason why Hevolution is so important in terms of representation in such a session is that the money for Hevolution is coming from the Saudi royal family. Now, I think everybody was pretty blown away when the Saudi royal family decided to do this. It wasn't exactly a country that we were expecting to start to move into the lead in this area. So, can you give, I know you were not there at the beginning of all of this, but can you give any kind of insight as to how governments in the Middle East generally, whether Saudi Arabia specifically or more generally, are thinking about this? Is it more a case of they just want to do good globally? Is it a case of they see the diseases, especially the disease of affluence, like type 2 diabetes, expanding rapidly within their own country? What kind of thing is mainly driving the thinking there?
Well, thank goodness I'm not a politician. And I'm not a policymaker. So while I cannot answer that question directly, I'll say a couple things. First of all, there is a really interesting scientific and medical opportunity in the Middle East and GCC countries. This is a population, as I mentioned, broadly speaking, rapidly catching up to, if you will, the demographics of countries such as the United States and Japan, and that fact hasn't escaped anybody. There is the biotech industry, generally speaking, is globalizing rapidly. It's not all about Boston and San Francisco anymore. That's for sure true. And as such, both the opportunity and the challenge of what biotech can do is global. So I think there's a real excitement around that. Uh-huh. And importantly, this Hevolution is a nonprofit. We are a philanthropic institution. We're here to do good.
All right, so we've got time for 2 questions before the next talk. First of all, Walter.
Very quickly, what about things that are not businesses, like, say, for instance, the Robust Mouse Rejuvenation Project? There's many things where there's no profit available, but they're actually very important.
Yeah, I think there's a variety of important projects that merit support, and broadly speaking, we at Hevolution are talking about ways that we can support important initiatives such as that, and also things like surrogate endpoints and biomarkers for clinical trials, which again could be larger than any one grant, larger than any one company. And so stay tuned. We're actively thinking about those sorts of things.
Lou.
Hey, Bill. Nice to see you face to face. We've Zoomed before. Congratulations on all the progress. I'm curious about, early on, there was some, I won't call it mixed messaging, but I met a number of the principals and I heard sort of different things from different ones regarding whether there would be any funding for technologies related to treating diseases, or whether those would be excluded only in favor of companies that were going after pure aging-related technologies. I heard both sides. I'm wondering what the new consensus is around that.
With the caveat that I probably wasn't the person answering any of those questions. I don't think there's a dichotomy there, and I think the consensus continues to be what it's been strategically from the beginning, which is we're not about treating one disease or another disease. We're about treating pathologic, unhealthy aging, and as such, we want to focus on companies from an investment standpoint that are looking deeper than symptoms or even early disease, late disease modification in a particular disease. We're looking for underlying themes. We're looking at the systems biology that underlies the pathways of unhealthy aging. And as we evaluate companies, we look for that. Having said that, it's been widely quoted that aging is not a disease, and that's true. Aging is not a disease. We are not trying to stop aging. We're trying to make it healthy, and we're trying to ameliorate or prevent the way that aging goes bad, if you will. And as such, we expect that the therapeutics that get developed hopefully will have real measurable impact on diseases we care about. So certainly you'll see companies that we invest in develop their technology for a particular indication that the FDA or other regulatory bodies will approve to treat diseases, and we'll get those therapeutics in the hands of physicians for patients. But we are not a heart failure fund, if you will, or a cancer fund. So we do try to look deeper than that as part of our selection.
Thanks. So before I take any other questions, let me ask at the back, is Michael online yet? He is, okay. So we have the next speaker coming in online, and he is very time constrained. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to quit the questions there. I wish I could take some more, but there you go. So thank you so much, Bill.
Thanks. Happy to talk at dinner too.